Hello, Pod Smashers, and welcome to a special episode event of 80-Bit Newscast.
/ 80-Bit Pod Smash.
We are your hosts.
Penguin and Termite. I am Penguin.
I am Termite, and we are a video game podcast smashing together ideas that you care about with video games, as well as this very special live newscast bonus episode for y'all. But if you are an audio listener listening to our regular podcast feed, this is also episode number
202.
202.
Yeah, we're doubling up this week, and for a couple of reasons, one of which is that this is a really important story, and we wanted to get it recorded as well for our audio listeners. You'll be hearing it a week late. But for for people who wanted to watch it live and catch it ahead of time, then we wanted that opportunity to engage with you as well. So apologies for people who wanted to listen to an episode and wanted to watch this live. This is the same content that you'll be getting Monday, but that's okay. We have another alternative reason for doubling up this week, and part of that's because I could have a baby at any time. My due date is passed, so we are kind of in that circumstance where we're trying to get some doubling up on content, give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room for my possible absence next week. So yes, but the big, most important thing, we're kind of going to go to cut to the chase this week because we are spending this episode talking about the Activision Blizzard news that came out last Wednesday, and figured we'd dedicate a whole episode to it as well, because as much as we hate to talk about this and hate that we have to keep talking about this, it is the news. It is newsworthy, and it is topic worthy as well because it hits on. So it really just this is like 80-Bit Pod Smash.
Right up our alley, I guess.
Right up our alley. Yeah, I was trying to find
things to talk about.
Appropriate metaphor. But yeah, no, this is some pretty heavy stuff this week. So we're going to try to, we're going to cut to the chase. We're not going to do any games. We're not going to do any gimmicks. And we're going to try to treat this entire topic as respectfully as it deserves, because it is what it is.
Whew. Really fast, if you care about us and our content, or what you just alluded to, that we do have gimmicks and games. We usually have a DLC that stands for downloadable content. It's a little fun side extra conversation. We also have a segment called Favorite Things, where we talk about a thing that we're digging for the week. Those things exist in every other episode that we have, so you can head over to 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website where you can find links to all of our podcast platforms. You can get us there and find all of our episodes. We just launched one that's all about a deep dive, a genre deep dive of survival games, and we're going to be doing an episode coming up about crossovers. Those are still in place. They're going to happen. They have happened, and you can check us out there. Generally, we're also where gaming goes to grab a beer. It's in our logo. It's kind of our thing that we do. We always drink craft beer, but given that you might be yanked out of your chair at any second's notice to go drive to the hospital, you are not going to be partaking. But really fast, the one very small thing that I will discuss here, and if you're watching live, you get the bonus of a visual, but I will try to describe it. I'm going to be drinking Hatazaki Japanese whiskey.
Ooh.
It's kind of
good stuff.
The fact that the Tokyo Olympics are happening right now, and I'm super into it. I've been watching as much of it as I can. My wife wanted to get me something. It's the week of my birthday, and she wanted to get me something I'd never had and probably would not buy for myself because it's a little pricey. So she got me this bottle, and I'm going to be drinking that tonight during our discussion. And believe me, this discussion merits whiskey.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Heavy.
Japanese whiskey, very smooth, very, very. I always felt like I've had friends contrast me on this, but I always get like a rice flavor. I feel like Japanese whiskey tastes a lot like Japanese sake. But it's very smooth for whiskey. I'm usually a big fan of Japanese
and
whiskey.
This is very light bodied. It's very clear color. It's very yellow. My son, my 6-year-old who has no filter, says it looks like pee, which was pretty funny because this is definitely not that. Evening, welcome to our stream. I was just talking about, we'll address chat in just a second, but we were just talking about the drink that we're drinking, at least I am, Hatozaki small batch Japanese whiskey. It was a birthday present / celebrating the Tokyo Olympics. So without further ado, talk to us about chat. What's going on with that?
Sure. Yeah, so chat I think will be a little bit different from our normal newscast. Normally we wait till we get through all of our news stories, and then we address any comments, concerns, questions that are in the chat. But we kind of want this to be a dialogue this week because we're only focusing on one news story. So by all means, feel free to pop in with your thoughts, feedback, questions, clarifications, comments, corrections, all that stuff. We want to hear it, and we will respond to it as we go. So yes, as T-Bone said, that looks tasty. And as Homercles said, welcome evening, folks. Again, if the chat lights up, we may not hit every single comment, but we'll try to hit the comments that we think are pertinent as we see them. But yeah, let's
We are usually a family-friendly podcast. The topic for tonight
Mhm.
about what Blizzard is going on is very not family-friendly. So there will be
No.
themes of more adult themes of
Right. We're not gonna
assault
be-
allegations and like
We're gonna-
suicide
yeah.
and sadness and depression
Yes. So
and bad
appropriate-
workplace environments. So
right.
we leave it to parents.
Yeah. Not just parents, but if this, if things like that bother you, if things like that upset you, or if, bring up any particular traumas that you may have, then by all means, this might be an episode to pass by. But yeah, we're gonna jump into it.
Jump in. Here we go.
Jump in.
What's going on?
We're talking about Activision Blizzard once again. They're in the news. We've done bonus episodes on their other various scandals. We've talked about them in our news show. We've talked about them in our podcast. Activision Blizzard is quickly rising to the ranks of being the most hated video game company out there, and one of our particular most disliked companies as well, for a lot of the crap they've pulled, because it's going beyond just the typical scummy video game stuff. It's going beyond the just EA microtransactions, loot box, stuff. It's going beyond pride and accomplishment. It's going beyond all that stuff, and it's getting into messy real world stuff, and that's what we're going to be getting into tonight. So without further ado, we'll jump right into it. What happened? What is the event that we're talking about this week? What is the news? What broke the internet on Wednesday?
I'm going to, as I like to cite articles for our news show, I do it on the show podcast as well. I'm going to cite an article that's very good about just capturing exactly what's happening. And that's from Bloomberg, which, yes, it's where Jason Schreier works, and we quote him a lot. But this article is not written by him. We'll get to him later. This is written by Maeve Alsup over at Bloomberg.com. It's actually Bloomberg Law, because what we're talking about is a lawsuit. So Activision Blizzard sued over frat boy culture and harassment. The video game giant Activision Blizzard Incorporated, maker of games including World of Warcraft and Diablo, fosters a, quote, frat boy culture in which female employees are subjected to constant sexual harassment, unequal pay, and retaliation, according to a lawsuit filed by California Department of Fair Employment and Housing. A 2-year investigation by the state agency found that the company discriminated against female employees in terms and conditions of employment, including compensation, assignment, promotion, and termination. Company leadership consistently failed to take steps to prevent discrimination, harassment, and retaliation, the agency said. According to the complaint filed on Tuesday in Los Angeles Superior Court, female employees make up around 20% of the Activision workforce and are subjected to a, quote, pervasive frat boy workplace culture, including, brace yourselves, this is bad, cube crawls, in which male employees drink copious amounts of alcohol as they crawl their way through various cubicles in the office and often engage in inappropriate behavior toward female employees. The agency alleges male employees play video games during the workday while delegating responsibilities to female employees, engage in sexual banter, and joke openly about rape, among other things. Female employees allege being held back from promotions because of the possibility they might become pregnant, being criticized for leaving to pick up their children from daycare, and being kicked out of lactation rooms so male colleagues could use the rooms for meetings, the complaint says. Female employees working for World of Warcraft, a team noted that male employees and supervisors would hit on them, make derogatory comments about rape, and otherwise engage in demeaning behavior, the agency alleges. I am not making this up, folks. I'm not done yet.
And we're not again, we want to avoid being this explicit because we are a family-friendly podcast, but some of this we're not going to be able to avoid. So we will not go out of our way to be inappropriate, use inappropriate language or paint these things in a harsher light than what they are. But they are what they are, and so we're going to have to say it as it is. So continue.
The worst is I'm about to read the worst. It's heartbreaking.
This kills me, man. This is the one that did it for me.
Yeah, this is it, right? The suit also points to a female Activision employee who took her own life while on a company trip with her male supervisor. The employee had been subjected to intense sexual harassment prior to her death, including having nude photos passed around at a company holiday party, the complaint says. The agency seeks an injunction forcing compliance with workplace protections, as well as unpaid wages, pay adjustments, back pay, and lost wages and benefits for female employees. Quote, We value diversity and strive to foster a workplace that offers inclusivity for everyone. There's no place in our company or industry or any industry for sexual misconduct or harassment of any kind, a spokesperson for Activision Blizzard said in a statement. We take every allegation seriously and investigate all claims. In cases related to misconduct, action was taken to address the issue. The DFEH, which I don't know what that is, includes
Department of Fair Housing. It's the state agency that is responsible for the lawsuit right now. That's
okay.
Initiating it. Yeah.
Includes distorted and in many cases false descriptions of Blizzard's past. Of course, they're going to say that. We have been extremely cooperative with the DFEH throughout their investigation, including providing them with extensive data and ample documentation, but they refused to inform us what issues they perceived, the statement continued. Oh, so we're deflecting and denying. The picture of the DFEH paints is not the Blizzard workplace of today, the company said.
Yeah, so let's
that's it.
Put a pin in that, because that statement, the statement where they basically said they're making it up, they're lying, they are not depicting an accurate or truthful workplace. That is the only statement we've got as far as how many business days have passed. 4 business days. It's Monday, so
there was a response from Blizzard on Friday.
Okay,
the 24th.
What was that response? Because there was
Activision
internal
from Gamer Rant. They posted it. Well, I was going to go in chronological order, but we can jump ahead if you'd like.
Well, no, I just want to make sure that my story's straight, because my understanding was that there was some internal stuff that came out. Like there were some leaks that there were internal statements within the company. But I'm pretty sure this is the only public statement they've actually made in response to the lawsuit at this time. I correct me if I'm wrong. Was there another statement they made?
I'm looking now to see what this is. You might be correct, and I misinterpreted the headline from Game Rant about it. Activision Blizzard devs. Oh, it's a devs. Devs speak out against.
Developers, right? Yeah. Right. So the developers. Yep. So yeah, and we'll get to all the different pieces of this. But so let's really quickly unpack the first thing. What happened? What happened is the state agency, the Department of Fair Housing and Employment, the DFHE, doesn't matter. State Department. We'll just say the state of California. From here on out, the state of California is suing Blizzard for widespread sexual harassment. I saw at some point that the term universal sexual harassment was thrown around there. I don't know how accurate that was, but it pretty much seems like every woman they talked to reported some level of harassment and or discrimination from the company. Again, as a reminder for those who may not be savvy on this stuff, Activision Blizzard is the company umbrella, the umbrella company. And underneath that, there are like 3 major subsidiaries: Activision, Blizzard, and King Games or whatever. They make Candy Crush. They make a lot of mobile games. So those 3 development studios basically, are underneath the corporate structure that is a company called Activision Blizzard that made them. They merged and created that in like 2008, I think. So,
and while you're talking about who they are, they've made Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, Guitar Hero, Skylanders, Spyro, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Diablo, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, StarCraft, Warcraft, and Candy Crush Saga. So if you play or are involved in any of those games, that's the company we're talking about. This is the company
that makes them, yeah. So a little bit, just because it's important to make sure that we get names, because we're going to be throwing out names.
Mm-hmm.
In this corporate structure, the CEO of Activision Blizzard is a guy named Bobby Kotick, Robert Kotick. I'm not sure which name we're going to use. Probably use Bobby Kotick. So he's the CEO of it all, and he answers only to the board of shareholders or whatever. And then there used to be a Blizzard CEO, a guy named Mike Morhaime. He'll come back up later too. Mike Morhaime used to be like a CEO of Blizzard and used to kind of have some autonomy over Blizzard, apart from Bobby Kotick's. He had some pushback, but when he retired back in like 2015, I think 2016. Activision installed not another CEO, but installed a president of Blizzard, someone who would answer to Blizzard, to Activision Blizzard, and Activision Blizzard alone. And that's a guy named J. Allen Brack. So those are some of the names we're going to be throwing out there. They're important. There's Bobby Kotick, who's the CEO of it all, J. Allen Brack, who's just the president of Blizzard and answers to Activision. And then there is Mike Morhaime, who was the former CEO of Blizzard. Used to have more power, now is doing his own thing. So, context. So that's what's happening. Response, what are your thoughts on that, Termite? Because just that alone, just that news. I guess the way I'll frame that question is, what was your first reaction to this news? Like, what was your gut punch reaction?
I didn't. My gut punch was, I feel gross even owning Crash or Like Tony Hawk. I just finished Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, and I loved it. It was awesome. This year, most recently, I finished Crash 4. Loved it too. It was super hard, and I want to throw my controller through the screen, but that's a conversation for a different night. But just like, I'm not really into the Call of Duty scene, but knowing how many billions of dollars, like Call of Duty is on the top 5 games sold of all time every single year, for every year.
And then there's Call of Duty Mobile, which is just raking in goobs and goobs of money, more than any Call of Duty game before it. So mobile games just...
This company is huge. I mean, when we say the gaming industry is over $100 billion strong a year in revenue, like Activision is a major, major part of it. And that's not even including Blizzard that does World of Warcraft and like the subscription models and such.
Right.
And the fact that they just make so much money and this behavior.
World of Warcraft with its subscription models, that's a small portion of Blizzard's revenue. They make a lot of their money on Hearthstone, the mobile.
Yeah, all the small microtransactions and the whales and such. So like,
so much more than
to me, this is one. I was trying to articulate the amount of money they make to articulate the size. If you're not familiar, if you're not in the gaming industry, this is a massive, massive publisher. They employ thousands of people, which means this type of behavior, when 20% are females, that's hundreds and hundreds of women. And that's thousands of family members, brothers, sisters, kids, like whatever. Like these people are affected. Someone took their own life. Like that person's family wrecked because of this crap. And then, so now I move from like being gross and sickened by even owning these products to like angry that this kind of workplace is allowed. And it goes right back to like the kid in school who makes other kids feel like absolute trash and then gets the best grades. They succeed in all the best ways. They have all the scholarships and they're decorated like a Christmas tree at graduation with all their extra awards. And no one is even looking. Yeah, no comeuppance, no justice. Just like, yep, this just happens.
Oh yeah,
so it just makes me so angry. But I'm also so validated that I have boycotted Blizzard since the Blitzchung thing with Hong Kong. And there's an even bigger story, an overall context with Blizzard specifically. Most recently, a very, very popular Twitch streamer had abandoned World of Warcraft to go to Final Fantasy XIV, which is now flourishing and setting new player records. And that's fantastic. And now this hits. You know, after blow after blow after blow against Blizzard, starting all the way back at Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Yeah, strike one. People have been upset with, I mean, even when the Hong Kong stuff started to die down, like Blizzard's been getting lots of bad press because of the way they've been handling the World of Warcraft story. The new expansion that was the best-selling expansion of all, best-selling computer game of all time. I roll my eyes, but it's the I only roll my eyes because I'm frustrated by the reality of that. But they've been botching it, and people have been leaving in droves because of how terrible the story has been going and how infrequent the content has been. And, you know, even after a content drop, then this drops. I mean, Blizzard's just been striking out. And I'm not even saying it's so unfortunate. Poor Blizzard. No, it's all right. Good. Exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. My first reaction, I literally was playing Overwatch the morning that that the news dropped. And then I'm not going to lie. At first, I kind of glazed over the news, didn't really read into the stories that deeply, and was like, that sucks. Lots of sexual harassment. But, you know, that's been going around recently with Ubisoft. You know, we just had this same discussion with Ubisoft a few months ago. But then I read the story about the woman who took her life, and that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, I cannot play these games in good conscience anymore. I just can't. I couldn't do it. So that is when I decided to uninstall Battle.net once again for the second time in like 2 years. And this time I have no intention, no justification for, you know, I just can't. I don't think I'm ever going to come back. I was looking forward to probably playing Diablo 4, but I don't think I could play it in good conscience. This is not even about, I had a discussion with someone earlier today, and this is not even anymore about like thinking that my money will make a difference to Blizzard, thinking that my money will in any way affect their bottom line. At this point, it's not about trying to bring Blizzard down. At this point, it's just what is best for my soul, what is best for my heart. And that is, I can't in good conscience play these games anymore. But really quickly, I want to highlight a T-Bone comment in here saying, good news is Final Fantasy 14 surpassed WoW in active subscriber members this month. So that is good news. That's cool. That's good to see. And then another follow-up is our friend Homocles here. I'm currently trying to type up the most strongly worded 500 character reason for unsubscribing to WoW, for what it's worth anyways. I'm into it. start writing up your strongly worded letters, because this is something that's worth it. Yeah, I mean, if you're at this point and if you're watching this and this is the first you're hearing about this, by all means, if you want to emote, I know that both of you guys, both Homer Cleese and T-Bone, are already aware of these stories, but if you are and you need to just process, like, yeah, feel free to drop your anger in the chat.
Yep.
Or whatever feelings you're feeling right now. So, because I know Termite and I have both been like, this sucks. Because this, once again, this is beyond just like the normal scummy stuff that video game companies do. And this is beyond even just like, again, usually we're talking on this podcast, we're talking about video games. They don't really matter. Who cares if you don't like Souls likes? Who cares if you decided to put down Mario because you weren't into it? Like, those are the petty controversies in video games, and video games attract petty controversies. This is an exception. This is not a petty controversy. This is people who make something that you love behaving like animals and behaving like monsters. And something I want to point out here is there are a lot of people who wanted to jump the gun and say, well, clearly this is another example of Activision's corrupting influence on Blizzard. Certainly old Blizzard would not do anything like this. But people have been pointing out that a lot of these issues trace back to Blizzard, even old Blizzard, even before they were purchased from Activision. Some of the complaints in the lawsuit trace back to before Activision took over. This is two awful companies with awful workplace cultures merging together and forming a super awful workplace.
Yep.
And it sucks to say. It sucks for me to like look back and say, the people who made games that I love, even when Blizzard was, quote, good, the people who made Diablo 2 contributed to this workplace harassment culture and probably harassed their female coworkers. The people who made World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3, probably harassed their female coworkers. The people who made Diablo 3, all the list goes on. And it's so heartbreaking. And so I know both of us have been kind of going through that gamut of emotions, because it does. It sucks when like you find out that people who you thought you respected because you like the product they made turn out to be just terrible people. But there's so much more to this story, so unless you're ready to move on.
One more. Speaking of that, I mentioned earlier how big the gaming industry is by dollars. The video games, according to MarketWatch, in an article here posted earlier this year, video games are a bigger industry than movies and North American sports combined. NFL, NBA, MLB, combine all of that with all of Hollywood. Video games make more money per year than all of that. Which, the reason why that's even relevant today is because stuff like this comes out in Hollywood and everyone's all over it, right? We all know Bill Crosby. Right. We all know Weinstein. We all, like, all of those, like, Hollywood, what's the other guy's name? There's a whole bunch of them, right?
Woody Allen, there's a ton.
Woody Allen. That was actually what I meant, not Weinstein.
No, Weinstein is one of them too.
Oh, he's Hollywood? I thought he was a politics thing. But anyway,
Weinstein is Hollywood, yeah.
How ignorant I am. But there are like big names that people just know in the general pop culture of society, and I don't want this crap. And what makes it even more mad is like we're already trying to like really expose to the value of video games and how amazing the medium is and how wonderful it is as a storytelling medium and an art form. And then this crap happens and it just clouds and pollutes and paints this false picture to those who are ignorant about what video games are in our culture. So this is a huge culture hit. Whether we want to identify ourselves with it or not, and speaking out, of course, helps not do that. But still, if someone comes up to you and says, do you play video games? And then they turn on the news, they're like, oh, this video game company did this. It doesn't do well
and
in
it's
general
already,
for like optics and perception. And that's infuriating to me.
It's unfortunate too, because this whole controversy and everything is a microcosm of the bigger video game company at large, not just the industry, but the culture. There are a huge amount of people out there on 8chan and 4chan and stuff like that who are pumping their fists right now because they're so thrilled that Blizzard sexually harassed women. You know what I mean? Because they do the same things, and it sucks. So I guess I want to take this time too to just sort of say, like, number one, our official stance here at 80-Bit Pod Smash is we believe the women who have come forward, and we hear you, we see you, and we believe you. Like we don't think that you're just making things up. There's totally a culture out there which is just like women are out to get men, and they're making these things up just to bring good men down. It's like, nope, no, we 100% reject that, and instead, we hear you, we see you, we believe your stories, and of course, same thing is the same rationale extends to any of our female listeners or any female gamers out there that may come across this or watch this. We believe that your experience in this culture is one that you probably have tons of stories of times you were harassed while playing games, and we think that sucks. And this is our, part of the reason why we want to cover this and talk about this in the first place is because it's one of our missions, one of our tenets is we want to create a welcoming space where anybody can come down and grab a beer and talk about games, and their opinions and their points of view can be validated, at the very least be heard. And that goes for our female listeners as much, and in some cases more so than our male listeners, just because your voices aren't heard and your stories aren't told. So it's really important for us that we foster that kind of environment and not one.
And like in any of the spaces that we occupy, whether it's Twitch or any of the social media platforms, I will actively condemn, ban, and restrict anyone who does any of this behavior whatsoever from behind their keyboard. Right. And I want to highlight female voices in the gaming industry because we are two heteronormative white dudes talking about this, and we're not in the game industry as far as working in that space. We both have our own 9-to-5. So go check out Alana Pierce. Her YouTube channel is amazing, and she just had a whole discussion about this from her perspective. She's worked in the gaming industry, and she has experienced some of these things and has a great response. And then Zombie Kills is a channel on Twitch. She is an African-American woman. She calls herself a black activist, and she speaks out wonderfully. I followed her because of the George Floyd murder and the outcry of black voices that I was trying to expose myself to, and I found her, and she's a female, and she also has wonderful opinions and stories about this and how to embolden others, what we can do as individuals in our own spaces to help make this better and to absolutely condemn and destroy this kind of behavior.
Destroy.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, so there's so much more to this story, though, because in the last, like I said, the last, 5 days or whatever, it has just more and more things have come out to just add to this discussion. So we're going to keep going for probably about an hour again, which makes this a little bit different from one of our normal news shows, but we're here for you. And then this, like I said, this will also be a podcast episode in the future. So it should run for about an hour, but yeah. So again, that is what happened. That was Wednesday. So next, the next kind of big story to hit was this the one the protests happened?
There was a massive protest within World of Warcraft, and PC Gamer
started. Didn't it start as only a small handful of employees though?
I'm just going in order with the headlines I found. If you got
this is the WoW. No, you're right. All right, this is the in-game protests. You're right. I thought that you were talking about the employees. Yes.
No, that's later. So I'm going in chronological order. The first news outlet hit from Bloomberg Law around the 21st, which was a week, not even a week ago. It was Wednesday, but I think it actually landed Tuesday. But reports were coming out Wednesday. So Wednesday was like reporting day. It was just facts. All this stuff is happening, and everyone was kind of like raw reacting to it.
Right.
Then Thursday happened as the story progresses and evolves into a massive in-game World of Warcraft protest that was covered by PC Gamer, an article written by Steven Mesner. Players are furious over allegations of rampant sexual harassment at Blizzard. World of Warcraft players are gathering by the hundreds in-game to protest Activision Blizzard after the state of California issued a lawsuit against the company, which we've covered. Players from both factions have gathered in the city of Oribos, where hundreds are quietly sitting on the steps leading to the inn, discussing the lawsuit or expressing anger and dismay at the allegations. Though the protest appears to be spreading to other servers, it was initially organized by a roleplay guild called Fence Macabre on the Moonguard and Wormrest, sorry, I'm butchering these names, Accord servers. The guild is also raising money for Black Girls Code, a nonprofit that helps women of color break into tech industries. Already, Fence Macabre has raised $3,500.
Good for them.
And there's a quote, as a queer indigenous individual, witnessing the mistreatment of people in industries which are conditioned against them has always been something I've been passionate about raising awareness for. Fence Macabre officer named Hina tells me, sorry, butchering names. Fence Macabre as a whole, since I'm a deputy, has always stood by their values in supporting and uplifting marginalized people. The player named Hina Gray is one of the organizers of the protest, acting as an anchor that invites participants into a raid group. This is awesome, so that they are able to physically see each other. To keep the game's server stable, Warcraft dynamically controls population visible in crowded spaces by automatically phasing players out. Hina and other players get around this by getting players into large groups of up to 40 people so protesters remain visible to each other. And imagine the burden on the servers. Hina tells me that since this morning, hundreds of players have flocked to Oribos to join the protest. The community has been very supportive, she says. We have far surpassed our charity goal and intend to keep going as long as there are people here. The overwhelming sentiment is one of solidarity and intense care for the victims and survivors of Activision Blizzard's abuse. Part of the reason players like Hina Hina have decided to protest in-game as opposed to other methods like organizing a blackout is because they're sub-locked. I wanted to highlight this, so I kept reading. Meaning they purchased a 6-month subscription that cannot be refunded. Most of us have canceled our subs. We're using the remaining game time to take up server space and raise awareness, and it's worked. It's like, yes, this is awesome. The subreddit is also blowing up. There's a 5,800 comment thread going on about the lawsuit, and it continues to grow. That was at the time of the writing. And apparently 2,150,693 fed up people are fed up with Blizzard, and they're losing 19,279 subscriptions every minute. So burn, let them go. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, again, that I definitely, my initial reaction to that story of the protest, the in-game protests, were like, well, they're still paying money, but it was, when I read further, it calmed me down because I was like, oh yeah, no, some of these people probably immediately unsubscribed, but they still have game time till the end of the month. So why not take that time to protest? And then similarly, some people are sublocked. People who paid, Blizzard, Activision and Blizzard did all these stupid promotions where you could get a mount if you subscribed for 6 months. So people who took advantage of that for in-game rewards, they're sublocked. They have paid for the time already, so they can't get that money back or just unsub and protest. So holding an in-game process, I think, was appropriate. So it's pretty cool. Some of the other responses were from the one that you highlighted was the one from Bungie. So Bungie, that same day, I believe Bungie made a statement. Now, for context, Bungie was part of Activision Blizzard and made Destiny under them, and they broke free. They broke free. That was a big thing like 3 years ago. They were able to, part ways with Activision Blizzard while maintaining the Destiny IP and have been operating apart from them since. So I'll let you go ahead and read the article you pulled about this one's quick,
but Bungie separated from Activision back in 2019, but so pretty recent, like 2 years and a few months. So Matt T.M. Kim over at IGN just quoted the tweet. As the fallout from the lawsuit against Activision Blizzard by the state of California for sexual discrimination continues to shake the games industry, Bungie has published a lengthy statement on its Twitter standing against harassment and discrimination. Quote, Bungie is built on empowering our people no matter who they are, where they're from, or how they identify. Bungie's statement begins in a 6-tweet thread, reaffirms Bungie's zero-tolerance policy against discrimination and its commitment to rooting out toxic culture. The statement also acknowledges a need to reflect on the endemic problems within the games industry. We don't pretend that Bungie is perfect and that no one has experienced harassment while working here, but we will not tolerate it, and we will confront it head on, and we will continue to do the work every day to be better. See, that's a wonderful response.
Right.
We're not perfect. This stuff gets through, but we hate it and we will not tolerate it, and we'll make policies to confront it, and we'll try to do this every single day. Like, that's an amazing response to someone who's not really in the crosshairs. Like, that's solidarity.
Right.
That's
I mean, they're only quote tainted by having been a part of that company in the past. Therefore, they're again, one could argue that plenty of these harassment cases probably happened while they were still part of Activision Blizzard and may have happened under their watch as well. Nevertheless, they own up to it. You know what I mean? So I agree that it's a pretty good statement. Some of the other statements that came out around the same time, I do want to highlight. You don't have them here, but I wanted to highlight them. I've got 2 Kotaku articles that we can throw in the notes as well for both of these. One response was from the former ex-Blizzard CEO, Mike Morhaime, who I mentioned earlier. He's no longer with them, but he was one of the co-founders of Blizzard, and as we mentioned earlier, some of the older, even some of these stories go back to when he was the boss. And so I just really quickly want to read his statement here. So Mike Morhaime's official statement was, I have read the full complaint against Activision Blizzard and many of the other stories. It's all very disturbing and difficult to read. I am ashamed. It feels like everything I thought I stood for has been washed away. What's worse, but even more important, real people have been harmed and some women had terrible experiences. I was at Blizzard for 28 years. During that time, I tried very hard to create an environment that was safe and welcoming for people of all genders and backgrounds. I knew that it was not perfect, but clearly we were far from that goal. The fact that so many women were mistreated and were not supported means we let them down. In addition, we did not succeed in making it feel safe for all people to tell their truth. It is no consolation that other companies have faced similar challenges. I wanted us to be different, better. Harassment and discrimination exist. They are prevalent in our industry. It is the responsibility of leadership to keep all employees safe, supported, and treated equitably, regardless of gender and backgrounds. It is the responsibility of leadership to stamp out toxicity and harassment in any form across all levels of the company. To the Blizzard women who experienced any of these things, I am extremely sorry that I failed you. I realize that these are just words, but I want to acknowledge the women who had awful experiences. I hear you, I believe you, and I am sorry to have let you down. I want to hear your stories. If you are willing to share them, As a leader in our industry, I can and will use my influence to help drive positive change and combat misogyny, discrimination, harassment wherever I can. I believe we can all do better, and I believe the gaming industry can be a better place where women and minorities are welcomed, included, supported, recognized, rewarded, and ultimately unimpeded from the opportunity to make the kinds of contributions that all of us join this industry to make. I want to leave the mark on the industry to be something that we can all be proud of. That's a great statement. It's a great statement. It's better than anything Blizzard has put forward, which is why I wanted to, say, put a pin in that. That said, it stings a little bit that it's like, he's right. These are just words. They're just words. And it's, you have to sort of take, that for a grain of salt and say, but dude, you let it happen. It happened under your watch. I know he takes ownership of it, but he is, the buck falls with him. It's his employees. So, when Dreamhaven, his new studio, drops a new game, I would not blame anyone for thinking twice before buying it, because at the end of the day, this is a failure of a leader. And until he says he wants to make a difference and he says he wants things to change, but until he does that, you got to judge a book by his actions in this case. And right now you can make as many flowery speeches as you want, but if your actions don't back them up, and right now you got nothing, man, you're starting at negative 12, negative 100 or whatever. You're not starting even at 0. You're starting with red in your ledger, and you got to stamp it out if people are going to take you seriously. So, I mean, I liked his words. He's right, but he also doesn't have anything to back that up yet. And it is tough. But Hermocles says in chat, I believe him and other leaders of old school Blizzard were aware. And I'm wondering how, ever since Activision took over Blizzard back in 2007? It was a long time ago. But ever since then, pretty much the old guard is gone. Everyone's left. They've all started, including, I forgot his name already that you just quoted. He's gone. He's not there anymore. Mike Morhaime. Yes, Morhaime. And so, sure, they're aware of this stuff. They probably didn't like it. They probably were complicit in some of it too. Yep. And it was gross and disgusting. So it's probably part of the reason why they left, in addition to the other opportunities that are out there. But good for him for I used to be there. I was kind of complicit in this. And these are just words, but there you go. Again, I point back to Alana Pierce's YouTube channel and her response. Something we could all do in our everyday workplaces and even in and out of the gaming industry is to listen to females. If they are complaining or they confide in you in any way, take them seriously, listen, acknowledge, and don't spread their crap. And if anyone has any of this toxic behavior in the workplace, you condemn it immediately on the fly. Yo, that's not cool. Go find another job to do. And something to be aware of, HR is not on your side. HR is on the companies. They exist to make the company money and protect them, shield them from you. That's you, the human. Right. It is. You are well within your rights in this country to consult with a lawyer, consult with someone. And if your industry has a union, go to the union. That's why this is one of those reasons why there is such a big push for video game workers to unionize, because they don't have anyone to go to that is on their side for situations like this. And so it's just another reason, another push, another argument for unionization, so that female employees in this industry can be protected by the union. I know there are other troubles and other controversies with unions, but this is a really great argument in favor of that. So anyways, there was another there's another response. I don't want to read the whole thing, but it's from Chris Metzen, who is responsible for a lot of the storytelling. He's another one of the famous names. I believe he was a vice president at Blizzard during his tenure. And he was the one responsible for all the storytelling in World of Warcraft and Diablo and a lot of the other games. But he also made a statement, and I don't want to read the whole thing. Okay. But he also made a statement. You can go look it up. If you care about Chris Metzen, he also made a statement. It is similarly one of those things where he's like, he acknowledges it, and he also acknowledges his failure, but at the same time, he doesn't acknowledge, hey, one of the guys who is actively named in the suit, you worked alongside him in the storytelling department, and you're telling us you didn't know anything, you didn't know his reputation, you never saw anything, you never called out any behavior. It's a little sketchy, man. You can't. These guys, it's like they're trying to take responsibility without taking responsibility. They're trying to say oh, we just weren't aware of it happening. No one came to us. As opposed to you knew. You knew. You absolutely knew. Do not try to pull that. You need to say, I failed. I did not act when I knew this was going on. That's the only acceptable apology in this circumstance. So, and the fact that Blizzard has not even said anything other than we are being slandered by the state is like, ugh. like you can't even do the bare minimum of saying like, we take these allegations seriously and we will launch an investigation, internal investigation, for whatever that's worth. Anything. No, it drives me crazy. But we can move on to the next happenings. So
there's a couple of other responses and protests that have come out, which is pretty cool. We've already highlighted one that was in-game from Fence Macabre, but there's another couple I want to highlight. Alistraza, I don't know her, but she's a well-known Hearthstone content creator. Alexandra McPherson, also took her stance following news yesterday. She postponed a card reveal of a card that was given to her by Activision Blizzard as part of the 135 cards of the United States in Stormwind expansion. She has a short 2-minute video on Twitter where she explains, "My card reveals are always fun and cringy and celebrate the best of Blizzard's creativity, and today is just not the day for that in light of recent events." She also encourages people to speak up for what is right and take responsibility in certain situations regarding sexual harassment or misconduct. Her quote, "My heart goes out to anyone who has been affected." So that's pretty awesome from the community. And then there's another person called Asmongold. He is a big Twitch personality. He also spoke out regarding the news about the lawsuit.
He's the one that left for WoW for Final Fantasy 14.
Okay.
He's the one. Yeah, he's
gotcha.
He's a big name. I don't particularly like him personally, but he's
popular for a reason.
Lots of people. Yep, there's lots of people who still follow him. So
he spoke out in a video as well. There's no quotes to read from him. So the community definitely responding rightfully so. And then another video game journalist outlet that I follow, Game Explain, it's a YouTube channel and on Twitch and stuff. They've posted a series of tweets, and one of them is, in light of the horrific sexual harassment, this was July 23rd, horrific sexual harassment allegations brought against Activision Blizzard, we are suspending any and all coverage of Activision Blizzard games for the remainder of the year, and perhaps indefinitely, until the work culture has been demonstrably improved. So good for them. They have a huge following, big YouTube channel, big Twitter account. You will not see Activision Blizzard games or coverage on them. So they'll do things like look at the Crash ports for Switch, and because they're very Nintendo focused. And so like Tony Hawk's just came out on the Switch. So their coverage on that, gone. So in-depth analysis, videos on all of that, nope. So that's good. Good for them. So more community solidarity and support. And then on that same day, Jason Schreier enters the fray with the giant Bloomberg article that I'm going to put in chat right now. Definitely go check this out. It's all about Blizzard's culture crisis in general. Like I said, it's a big, long article all about their culture, and this just adds a ton of stats and context of the culture of that company. It would probably not move our conversation further to read or cover this. Right. It has a lot of tidbits, so that's why I dropped it in chat for some required reading. So definitely go check that out.
Suggested reading.
Suggested reading. Yes.
Right.
So Jason Schreier, of course, speaking out, and then the employees. So
you want to
highlight some? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I do. So first there was the kind of first thing was there was a group of developers and workers who began protesting. About 20 employees, I think, started speaking out. Their biggest thing right now, the kind of thing they keep hitting on, is that original statement. Again, the reason why I wanted you to put a pin in that is because it's really important, because this is the only statement we got from Blizzard, which was basically, deflecting and accusing the state of slander. They that's the only statement they've made, and so a lot of the employees are speaking out primarily about that statement, of course, speaking out against the culture and stuff too, but their biggest thing is this company that we worked for is not even doing the bare minimum of a response. So let's see, is this Game Rant one the one with where they've stopped working?
No, not yet. That's coming.
Cool.
In fact, where was that article? I had it right here. Whoops.
Yeah.
You don't have it because it's not in our show notes, actually.
No, I've got one. So anyways, the kind of the first was a bunch of tweets from various people tweeting of their own accord, saying they don't represent the company, but they don't support, this attempt to diminish the response and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of people who talked to people from Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, who are employees, mid-level, low-level employees who were speaking out against it. There was, I believe, a group that is now protesting, and the big thing that's happening, as Homer Cleese pointed out in the chat, there's one of the senior system designer, Jeff Hamilton, and I want to read his whole tweet he tweeted out basically that all work on World of Warcraft has actually come to a halt as a result of this. So his statement was, I find Activision's corporate response wholly unacceptable. I don't stand by it. It is evil to usurp a victim's story into rhetorical bludgeon. It is abhorrent to reply to these accusations with anything other than a well-thought-out plan to correct these abuses. I don't know what to do. I don't have all the answers. I can tell you almost no work is being done on World of Warcraft right now while this obscenity plays out, and that benefits nobody. Not the players, not the developers, not the shareholders. I would argue it absolutely benefits the victims. It absolutely benefits the company, the workers at large, because it means that it hurts the company if development is slowed. It hurts the company if they have to delay something because for a week employees weren't working as a result of this. That's going to hurt the company, and therefore that, you know, helps the victims get some sense of justice. I think some bit of, you know, remorse or reprieve, I guess. I don't know, but nevertheless, still, I think his statement is it's great to know that, like, the employees, they're putting their money where their mouth is. They could get fired for not working. They could get laid off. They're definitely not going to be looked at for promotions. This is a risk. So it's a bold thing for them to do. In my opinion, it's the bare minimum. I wouldn't want to continue working for a company that was accused of this, that had this much brought forward, you know, in front of them, because I would want to stop working immediately and phone it in, put my 2 weeks notice in and phone it in. Not everybody has that, you know, luxury. I know cost of living in California is crazy. So some people probably have to try to protect their jobs, to protect their families and their well-beings. But nevertheless, you know, it wouldn't necessarily put a big pin on it wouldn't necessarily boost my morale, and certainly would make me look sideways at my coworkers, wondering, are you someone who has sexually harassed one of my other coworkers or one of my friends, or even someone I don't know, but are the kind of person who sexually harasses people? You know what I mean? Like, that would totally make me paranoid about everyone I worked with. If the culture was that pervasive, I have to wonder if some of these people speaking out are not complicit in this, are not people who have done something in the past that aren't, you know, some of this is undoubtedly virtue signaling to make themselves feel better about their own actions that they're complicit in. Maybe they're not even aware of times they sexually harassed someone. You know, one of their coworkers made a dirty joke at a work lunch with their bros. You know what I mean? Like, all of that. Yeah, it's so much to consider that, like, that, you know, even some of these statements ring hollow, but at least they're being made. At least those voices are coming out. So,
to quote Alana Pierce once again, even if a girl is like laughing or giggling as an awkward response to something you've said, you might have been a victim, or I'm sorry, an oppressor, like an aggressor in that. Like, you could have been that person. I don't know if you said this, but Jeff Hamilton is a senior World of Warcraft system designer. Yeah. So he's got pull, he has clout, and he has, at the end, he points to over 30 past and present Blizzard staff who also shared their personal stories online. These stories are often mirrored the allegations present in the lawsuit, describing a workplace that normalized sexual harassment and assault. So there's a lot of evidence out there.
Right. Yeah, it's not, this is one of those, you know, again, in our country, we believe in innocent until proven guilty. In a court of law. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's some wiggle room there. I agree. Nevertheless, that is the assumption here that is made. But nevertheless, the proven guilty part rests on the evidence. And when there's this much evidence, proven guilty is only a matter of time, not necessarily a matter of truth. So yeah, there is certainly some and the fact that, again, it's not just the stuff that it's not just the you know, accusations from the lawsuit themselves. It is the fact that those accusations are being corroborated by former and current employees. Again, eyewitness testimony is a valid form of evidence in the courts of this country. So take that for what, you know, no matter what side you land on in this issue, take that for what it is, which is a massive amount of evidence condemning Blizzard in this regard. So pardon us if we are assuming guilt at this point, but I do feel like it's just a matter of time until this thing is, you know, definitively proven as far as the court and legal language there is concerned. And even if it's not, the court of public opinion at this point is certainly in Blizzard's not in Blizzard's favor. No, anyways, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't necessarily speak to all the nuances of all that, but it does seem to be a pretty damning amount of evidence. Anyways, was there anything else you wanted to? I guess the biggest thing that happened today was the fact there was a 1,000 signed signature petition from Blizzard staff urging Blizzard to make a better response and lay out a plan for preventing future abuse.
Yep. And I will read this as soon as the limited time subscribe now with exclusive introductory offer, cancel anytime stuff.
I got it. All right, so nearly 1,000 current and former Activision Blizzard employees have signed a letter calling the company's response to the recent discrimination abhorrent and insulting. The letter, which was reviewed by Bloomberg, was circulated Monday following a turbulent week for the publisher behind blah, 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 blah.
That's today.
So we'll skip over all of the background because we know this.
The letter.
Yeah, we'll read the full letter. To the leaders of Activision Blizzard, we, the undersigned, agree that the statement from Activision Blizzard and their legal counsel regarding the DFEH lawsuit, as well as the subsequent internal statement from Frances Townsend, are abhorrent and insulting to all that we believe the company should stand for. To put it clearly and unequivocally, our values as employees are not accurately reflected in the words and actions of our leadership. We believe these statements have damaged our ongoing quest for the equality inside and outside of our industry, categorizing the claims that have been made as distorted and, in many cases, false. Creates a company atmosphere that disbelieves victims. It also casts doubt on our organization's ability to hold abusers accountable for their actions and foster a safe environment for victims to come forward in the future. The statements make it clear that our leadership is not putting our values first. Immediate corrections are needed from the highest level of our organization. Our company executives have claimed that actions will be taken to protect us, but in the face of legal action and the troubling official response that followed, we no longer trust that our leaders will place employee safety above their own interests. To claim this is truly meritless and irresponsible lawsuit, while seeing so many current and former employees speak out about their own experiences regarding harassment and abuse, is simply unacceptable. We call for official statements that recognize the seriousness of these allegations and demonstrate compassion for the victims of harassment and assault. We call on Frances Townsend to stand by her word to step down as executive sponsor for the ABK Employee Women's Network as a result of the damaging nature of her statement. We call on the executive leadership team to work with us on a new and meaningful efforts that ensure employees as well as our community have a safe place to speak out and come forward. Whew, man, long. One final paragraph here. We stand with all of our friends, teammates, and colleagues, as well as the members of our dedicated community who have experienced mistreatment or harassment of any kind. We will not be silenced, we will not stand aside, and we will not give up until the company we love is a workplace we can all feel proud to be a part of again. We will be the change. So that is the statement in full. I want to quickly, again, that's pretty much all the things that happened. Again, in order, it was the news dropped. There were the responses to that from both the players and the employees and former employees were kind of all that really happened. Again, no statement made so far, but I do want to take some time. I don't know how much time we have left. We have been streaming for 54 minutes. Great. We have 10 or so minutes, 20 minutes maybe, if we really want to get into it. I want to take some time to talk about what do you think is going to happen from here? What do you think? Again, there's what you want to happen and what you think is going to happen. And I kind of want to talk about both, and whichever order you want to start with, we can go that way. So
let's dream first, and then we'll land. We'll shoot for the stars. We'll land on the moon. So what I want to happen.
We'll shoot for the stars, and then the arrow will hit someone and get them right in the knee and ruin their life forever. That's
Skyrim reference. Nice. What I want to happen is the entire executive leadership team completely is gone and disbanded. I want the entire company to come down and be rebuilt. And I want female voices to be at the table. And I want marginalized voices to be at the table. LGBTQ representation, people of color, non-white, non-men, people, a good mix of everyone's voice and everything represented, and an entirely new company structure to come out of this. That's what I want. Like, I think that's where you would have the best Activision Blizzard that you've ever seen in the history of the world. Like, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want, for me, I want justice to be served. I want this company to be made an example of. No bones about it. I would love for the state to just find them into oblivion. I mean, I know it is not a criminal. Unfortunately, sexual harassment in the workplace is not a criminal offense, so nobody could possibly be jailed for this. But I would want the harshest possible financial punishment beyond just these people always say these companies keep a jar above the fridge. They keep funds for suits like this because they consider it a business expense, which is terrible. But it is the reality. But nevertheless, like, I want it to be above and beyond that. I want them to be fined billions of dollars, and I want them to have to reconsider. I would love for, there's already moves being made to prevent tech companies from monopolizing like this, like creating monopolies. There's already some big trust busting people who have been appointed by Biden who are already taking aim. They're aiming at folks like Google and Apple, these big Microsoft, these big companies that are making huge acquisitions at the cost of competition. It would be nice to take this opportunity to potentially trust bust Activision Blizzard and say, you know what, you've gotten too big. You've made, this acquisition is, as far as we're concerned, anti-competitive, and to just bust them up. That would be, I would love to see that. Again, that would be the sense of justice in me talking. Similarly, I would love to see more female leadership come out as a result of this. I would love to see Bobby Kotick be forced to resign. I would love to see J. Allen Brack have to fall on his sword as well, but because those are the big names, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the kinds of things I would want to see. But yes, let us come back down to reality here for a second.
What will happen?
What will probably happen? I'll take a first stab at it. I can see someone having to fall on their sword for this. I can see the company saying, you know what, we have to have a scapegoat here. I can definitely see them. I mean, there are videos floating around. That was one of the things we didn't talk about. There was videos of the BlizzCons and stuff like that, where J. Allen Brack, the president, he wasn't president at the time, but he is president now, and there are videos of him out there being directly sexist towards female players and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I can see him having to fall on his sword. I think that if there was going to be a big name that we've talked about that is going to be hit, he may be the one. I can see J. Allen Brack. I think Bobby Kotick is probably, as much as it pains me to say, he's probably insulated from this enough. Mm-hmm. He makes that company so much money, and they will do as many gymnastics as they can to prevent him from having to be removed. I mean, there was a whole story that came out where the board delayed a vote so that they could make sure they could strong arm people into preventing him from getting his salary lowered. Yep. like they bend over backwards for Bobby freaking Kotick, and will probably continue to do so. J. Allen Brack, however, I can see them making that man fall so hard on his sword that nobody, I can see that happening. That is probably the harshest thing that I think will happen. Other than that, they'll be fined by the state, and they will just pay it.
Yep, and then all this will go away, and that's the biggest fear, right? It's like something bad like this happens. People will explode over it all over social media. It'll be this big thing for a couple of weeks, and then it'll all kind of die down. A decision will get made.
Like the Hong Kong and the Blitzchung thing did.
People will just move on, and Diablo 4 will come out, and everybody will be like, oh, look, shiny new thing, and they'll just go after it. I hope that's not the case, but we've seen it, like you said, with the Hong Kong Blitzchung situation. That was very quickly ignored. Very few people ever talk about it now, and I feel like I don't even know, like some strange person whenever people talk about Blizzard in my groups, in my social circles, and I'm like, no, I still don't play Blizzard. The Blitzchung thing just died. You guys do you, but I'm not. Right. I'm not doing that. So
I was there. I was like, well, I'm going to boycott them for 2 years, and I think I had pretty good reasons for. I'm not going to necessarily crap on myself and say that I'm just a bad person. I think my reasons were fairly well thought out, but then this drops, just before that anniversary, and I'm like, you know what? No, you have not changed, and apparently you've been even worse than I thought you were all along. The Hong Kong thing apparently was not enough of a warning sign for me. This is enough. Mm-hmm. This is enough. But anyways, I think the worst that's going to happen is they're going to get fined. Tons of their players will quit for a while and boycott for a while. Maybe it'll hurt them, maybe it won't. But nevertheless, they're gonna bounce right back and continue to be in the spotlight for a while. Maybe the reality will be somewhere in between what we've talked about. I would love to see even something. I would love to see them, I would love to see a lot of people say goodbye to them forever. But the problem is there's tons of people who play Candy Crush Saga, Call of Duty, who even play World of Warcraft, Diablo, they don't care. They're not. It's not just that they don't care about women or anything like that, though there are probably plenty of people who do, who have that attitude. But there are people who they're not paying attention to this stuff. They don't watch this stuff. They don't read about this stuff. They just don't care. They might see a headline across the Washington Post or something, but they're not going to be like, they'll be like, Activision who? They don't pay attention to the names that come up, the company names that come up before the game starts. They just play the games and love them. And those are the people that continue and will continue to make Activision Blizzard money, because that's it. I do want to read a couple of responses from our listeners who have been chatting up and engaging a lot. We're super here for it. So I want to reward that behavior. But T-Bone's in response to things that they want to see happen and things that we asked that question. T-Bone said, I want EA levels of backlash, even more, hit their wallet. With you on that, 100% do it. I mean, EA is still going strong too, which sucks, but nevertheless, and what EA did pales in comparison to, or what they were guilty of pales in comparison to what Activision is. And our friend Homer Clee says, I agree, less monopolies / media conglomerates. He says he wants justice, total restructure with people focused on delivering a gaming with a focus on the players and not stockholders. And then he follows up with, weather the storm is the modern corporate response, and I'm tired of it. We are too. So tired of it. Like, they should not be able to get away with it. And we need harsher laws in this country, because quite frankly, the culture does not value, encourage, or facilitate, proper consumer response. Unfortunately, there's not enough ethical consumerism in this country. It's all, and so I do not believe the consumers will hold this company accountable. I would love to see unionization, you know what I mean? A push for unionization. Like, if you really strongly care about this stuff, I know unions are a complicated topic. I know it's not just so simple, but really consider in this case that a union for video game workers would go a long way to stamping out these kinds of issues. And if not a union, then please tell me what a better option is. Please tell me what kind of organization can be created to protect these people. What laws need to be made, because I'll support it. I will. But one of the best protections that I can imagine right now is an organization dedicated to protecting these people and fighting for them, that is outside of the corporate structure, that does not stand to lose money or gain money based on the decisions to protect those people. So I had one more question.
Well, I do. There's another response I want to get to, but
sure, yeah.
Industry response, right? Unionization, we've had a discussion, the pros and cons of that. It's one thing to discuss like the cost of games going up and like protecting salaries, or maybe they're underpaid, et cetera, et cetera. And those are kind of like non-humanitarian issues. But this is the loudest call for unionization or protections for folks in the creative industries. We've seen it in Hollywood, we've seen it in the music industry, and we have it now, like the lack of it in the gaming industry. This speaks it almost is it's such a loud argument for unionization that the other things don't even matter. Yeah. Because at this point it's affecting lives. I want to circle back around to Homercules' comment. People focused on delivering a gaming with a focus on the players and not the stockholders. Microsoft is crushing in that direction right now, because everyone criticizes Game Pass and criticizes Microsoft for, quote, not having the games, but look what they're doing. They're so consumer focused, and there's not a iota of toxic development companies coming out of any of those development studios in the Microsoft house that I'm aware of, and I would love to be corrected if I'm wrong in this argument. But what I'm seeing Microsoft doing is consumer, and they're making the money. Like, you please the consumers, you do the right ethical things, you have those right businesses and the connections they're in, and the money will come. It's like not making decisions that exploit people, but actually encourage and embolden. I mean, look at what Microsoft's doing in the indie space. Like, Life is Strange is like big, artsy, awesome ID at Xbox funding. EA, like, I know they're easy to hate on, and we don't want to maybe favor them sometimes because of but look what the direction that they've come from with Battlefield, with Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront, the microtransactions, and now they've steered away from that and gave us Jedi Fallen Order. Look what they've done. There was actually
there was an article that dropped again, kind of under the radar, buried under this stuff. I just saw an article this week where apparently there's an internal shift in EA to focus more on quality single player experiences, kind of following Sony's success there. So again, that's just evidence of that.
And EA is funding indies. EA Play is an initiative that gave us what just came out. It Takes Two, A Way Out, like that company, Light. I'm forgetting their name of the studio, but they're funded completely by EA, and they're creating amazing art experiences. And Sony's doing great work with their first party studios. We know Alana Pierce works at Santa Monica Studios. She's working on God of War, and she touts how like her workplace is okay and fine. Like it's not doing this. Yeah. We know Ratchet and Clank came out with no crunch, right? Isn't that what you had shared that with me? And I don't have the article to cite it. So like these situations, sexual harassment is the worst of it. And Activision Blizzard is oozing in it. Ubisoft is also doing the same problematic crap. And these companies have to change. They have to. We live in a connected society, a global society, and it's just not going to go away. So as the optimist that I am, like it's going to change.
And it doesn't stop with just stopping the sexual harassment. That is the bare minimum.
Yep.
Not even that. That is just
the system has to be rebuilt.
Right. It's also there's so many other workplace protections that are just not present. And you mentioned crunch. That's another form of abuse. It's just another form of abuse that companies can put on their employees. And unpaid overtime, are you freaking kidding me? Like that's a form of abuse, and it all needs to stop. So and as Homercles pointed out, the abuse of the consumer needs to stop as well. So there's so much.
Those are different conversations that I don't want to
of course
distract from this, which is females are equal in the workplace. LGBTQ folks, however you identify, they are literally human beings that are just as qualified for the job that you're in. They have no reason to be cast aside, abused, exploited, or dismissed in any way, shape, or form, and absolutely needs to be condemned and spoken up against in every way, shape, and form. It's terrible.
Yeah. I wanted to. I'm gonna risk being over time because we did this with the Blitzchung episode, and so I want to do this again with this one, which is to talk about what can you do? What can you do? If you are incensed by this, if you're watching this either live or watching this later or listening to the podcast, and you are just like, this is the worst, and what can I do? There's a lot. You can uninstall Battle.net and cancel your subscriptions and never buy anything from Activision with the words Activision Blizzard or King's video games on it ever again. You can certainly do that. We have, and we are probably going to continue to do that.
Yep.
That is perfectly fine. You can encourage others to do the same. If you have a family member that's playing Candy Crush and you are aware that they're a socially minded person that cares about this kind of stuff, you can say, hey, do you know that's made by Activision Blizzard, who sexually harasses their female employees? It's totally up to you as to how you want to start that conversation, but and the consequences that may come from it, relationally speaking. But it's a fair conversation to have with people. It's a good conversation to have with people. And many of them may be like, I didn't effing know that. I'm uninstalling it right away. Those are great steps. They are not steps for everybody. Some people, I totally acknowledge there are people who are Twitch streamers. There are people who make their livelihood on Blizzard games, either talking about them, like that's their thing. That's their audience. That's the only way they have to make money. You're probably not in a position where you can do that, and neither would I guilt you for not doing it. That said, you should still make a statement condemning this stuff and trying to hold Blizzard accountable or Activision accountable. But I would definitely say if you are a gamer, sometimes you have to make sacrifices. I would still encourage people to make sacrifices because it sucks. This whole rest of this week, I've been inconvenienced by the fact that I haven't been able to play Overwatch while things have been slow at work. That sucks. It's by no means, it's 100% a first world problem by definition.
Right.
But it's inconveniencing and it's not as fun. But it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make to stand in solidarity with the victims of this abuse and this harassment.
My single favorite Blizzard game of all time is probably Warcraft 3. Mm-hmm. And when Blitzchung happened, Warcraft 3 Reforged was on the cusp of coming out. And I made the decision to boycott Blizzard through that release, expecting it to crush, be amazing, and everything I hoped and dreamed it would be. Of course, it flopped, was outside of. But the thought was like, that was my sacrifice. Like, this is, I was so excited about it. And right as Blizzard was starting to kind of become normal again, and like the Blitzchung thing, I was still like not okay with it. I was flirting with the idea of getting Diablo 4, but used so they wouldn't see my dollars directly. It would go to like GameStop or wherever I get it from. But I know that, and this is what I wanted to highlight, your player count is also currency to them. So just by playing the game,
and even just having Battle.net installed on your computer, that counts towards their metrics, and that is currency. So uninstall, get rid of it. Again, not everybody can do that, and there are some people out there. You love the game, you love the games, and you want to support the people who make them, not necessarily the leaders who make them. There are arguments to be made that it still does obviously support the leadership. But if that's your conviction or not your conviction, as the case may be, I'm not going to guilt you for it. I'm not going to shame you for it. I would encourage you to still look into support. Number one, educate yourself on this, because this is a huge issue beyond just Activision Blizzard. So educate yourself on sexual harassment in the video game industry, on just general abuses in the video game industry. Educate yourself, speak out against it, support things like unions, or support things like laws that severely prohibit and harm the companies that continue to do these practices. Support general workplace improvements and all that stuff for people. And just there's tons of things you can do beyond boycotting. In fact, boycotting in many ways is the least of those things. It's totally up to you and your conscience as to what you are comfortable doing or not doing, knowing this stuff. But again, I leave that up to you. The most important thing is that you support these women and their stories. You support a proper outcome, that the state determines, and support things that severely restrict this kind of evil from happening in our world. And that is a vast, vast topic. So,
and T-Bone and Homercles both in chat have talked about alternatives. You can always play Path of Exile 2, which is a great alternative to Diablo. There are many, and Homercles says there's so many games available and plenty of alternatives. He's trying to play Final Fantasy XIV, rediscovering that there are other games that have collected dust, so he's over Blizzard, which is awesome. There's so many things to play. We're not going to miss this one niche. It'll be okay. I also want to highlight our friend of the show, Ken Blazik, who posted on Facebook. We reached out to him asking permission. So I'm going to butcher his post because reading loses all of the tone of the emotion behind writing this, but I'm going to read his post.
Do you want me to read it?
Go for it. I'd love for you to do it. Do it. You're ready. Get it.
All right. I'm going to do my best, Ken Blazik. This has really bothered me. I've been a huge fan of their games for decades now. Not that I'm a rarity, mind you, but this is the final straw. I have been loving WoW Classic and the Burning Crusade Classic, but this makes me sick. There's other problems related to Activision merger or buyout, such as predatory microtransactions and shady practices, such as withholding content to time around 6-month subscription deals. I definitely struggle with wondering, will my cancellation and refusal to play actually affect them? Will they just weather the storm and hope that the fan base stays with them? In a just world, everyone would immediately cancel and stop playing, thereby truly affecting their metrics, but it won't happen. We're seeing tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people flock to Final Fantasy XIV, but is it for good? What a sad fall from grace for Blizzard. I missed the auto-renewal for my WoW subscription, but I'm going to let it lapse. I'll be sure to leave a note for them when I cancel. Sorry for the rambling. I feel stupid letting a game company hold so much sway emotionally, but we've been together for over 20 years, and it's like a breakup needs to happen, but don't want it to. And I fully thumbs up that statement. I feel like it really, we want to read it, number one, because we support people sharing their thoughts with us and want to continue to encourage that kind of thing because we love that interaction. We love that feedback. So we're happy to read it on our show and happy to parrot those ideas. But number two, I really feel like it really encapsulated a lot of my feelings. I shared a lot of those thoughts, a lot of those, disparaging realizations, but also a lot of that same kind of call to action. So thank you, Ken, for that. That was really, really good. And if you have thoughts, we want to hear from you as well as Ken. So feel free, please, to share those thoughts.
I want to reassure and validate his thoughts about it might feel silly because you're emotional, like letting a game.
Right.
No, that is not silly. That is a normal reaction.
No. Yes.
I have had a relationship with gaming in various companies for 30 years of my life plus. And if Nintendo did something like this, I would probably rip my clothes and just weep on the floor in agony because I have almost shrines dedicated and so many memories, childhood, grow up, connections with friends and family and things that matter. People that try to dismiss video games as a silly hobby or a waste of time or a selfish endeavor, just they completely miss the mark. These things are other people's lives, hearts, and emotions poured out in a medium that we can consume with our friends. It connects our friends and family in a meaningful way when it's done correctly. This toxic crap, it needs to go. We need to root it out. And it is as painful as someone acting in a relationship poorly. And it should, because now maybe it does sound like I'm getting a little too philosophical here, but it is like a loved one treating another loved one poorly, and you like this loved one, but you have to break a connection. That's what this is.
Yeah.
This thing has fed you life and fun and an escape or something deep to connect with. And so anyway, I'm rambling at that point.
No,
but
you're right.
I just want to validate all of that. Like, you should not feel stupid about or dumb or shallow at all about your relationship with a video game company or the products that they push out that we consume. Because
if you can't feel, if it's silly to feel joy from a company, it's silly to also feel anger at a company. And I feel like both of those are good things to feel in this in this context, in this circumstance. So that's totally, I agree. But anyways, if you have thoughts and you have feelings and you have equally as much anger or rage, or if this doesn't particularly affect you, if this isn't the battle you choose to, the hill you choose to die on, we want to hear from that as well, and your reasonings and the things that you care about as well. Where are you choosing to focus your effort? Because we're only human and we only can have so much, that we dedicate our, this is our battle. This is our hill that we've chosen to dedicate an hour and a half of our time to.
Yep.
But if it's not yours, there's no shame in that. So we want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear every thought and idea, feeling of this conversation. I'm losing my ability to speak now. So Termite, where can the listeners or viewers share their thoughts if they have them?
You can go to 80bitpodsmash.com, our landing website with links to all of our social media outlets. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a subreddit. You can create a conversation thread there. There is a Discord server that is stood up with a link in all of our show notes to go live interact with us. If you like our content, we do drop episodes of our podcast every single Monday with links to our RSS feed and podcast platforms. They're also at 80bitpodsmash.com. You can also find us at twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash, where we are broadcasting live right now on a Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we run you through a week's video games headlines, and on Wednesday evenings at 8 p.m., we usually do a video game live stream. We're doing a Let's Play or something where we're just playing a game that we're digging and we hang out with our fans. So please come to us at twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash. Those videos do get uploaded to YouTube, and you can find that link again at 80bitpodsmash.com for video on demand consumption at your leisure. You can leave comments there. You can thumbs up, subscribe, and like, and continue to help our audience grow, because this chat has been the best chat because it had you in it. So please come jump in and continue to interact with our audience.
That's right. So next week, as Termite pointed out, this is going to be the episode next week. The following week, we will be doing an episode. So I guess if you're listening to this in podcast form, then next week we'll be doing an episode on game mashups, crossovers. That's the word. So, Smash Bros. Is the obvious example there. Games that have characters from other video games showing up in them. It was inspired by a particular crossover. But we'll talk about that in the actual episode. So, that's what's happening next week, or in 2 weeks if you're watching this live. And we will see you then.
See you next week.